I've had a few people ask about how I manage to play some games solitaire. With a two-person game, especially an I go, you go type situation, uh, simulation, you've got, it's fairly easy, I think. You look at the current position and you can come up with, especially on tactical levels, within a larger situation, you can look and see, I need to do this just as you would in a two-player game. I need to do X, I need to do Y, I need to do Z. On the strategic level, it's moving it to another layer, which is saying, okay, here's my big plan. That I think you have to hide from that other player in your head a little better than, say, little tactical moves, which often are determined by die rolls, etc. A lot of wargamers play games solitaire, and I don't think this is anything new to them. What I find particularly difficult, especially in some of the newer war games, is pulsed activities, games like with the CDGs, where you have a handful of hidden cards that are just so key to the game. It's not like I can play something like War of the Ring where I have a hidden card that's a big deal, but I can pretend I don't know that my opponent holds that card. It's very hard to be moving action to action, looking at a hand of cards trying to figure out what you're going to do, and then, oh, the other guy's going to play this card to counter it or whatever. I just try to forget and try to play kind of stupidly in that case. Surprisingly, that's actually how I play in competitive play as well, so I usually don't do too well in games with hidden hidden information like that. Although I had a great experience with Starship Troopers that way. There are some games where there's just too much hidden information. Starship Troopers is a good example, where, you know, the one player is just completely not even on the map. Another one, something like Magic, the Gathering, the card game, where I tried playing it solitaire a few times. It's just horrible because it's so reactive. Everything is, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I mean, you can play certain fixed decks against each other, and that's possible. But then there are things that I find very easy that other people do not. So, for example, recently, Here I Stand. I find that very, very simple to play because the decision a player makes on their turn, or decisions they make, are of that tactical nature. Oh, look, I've got these cards, I want these things, I can see how to get that right away. I don't have to make these huge, overreaching plans based on my hand that I'm holding. And there's the segmentation of, 5 other players, so I don't know what everybody I'm conflicting with is liable to do to stop me. So that's cool. I was able to play games like Dune solitaire, although that's a little tricky, where you're picking how many troops to commit to a battle. I try to make the same decision that I would make in that situation. Unfortunately, there's definitely a surprise factor missing, because I've seen people play very, very differently than I would in that. In an 18xx game, even though there's no luck, and it's all player decisions, I don't find making those decisions hard at all. Again, there's this huge segmentation. I want X, I'm fixated on that. I don't really think too hard about what other people are going to do that's going to hose me. So I'm able to play those very easily by just segmenting my brain. Trying to think of any others that are particular. Games that are designed for solitaire play, I usually really despise. They have these very, very structured rule sets that cause events to happen based on what you do. Your enemy is sort of maybe playing by automatic rules or whatever, and they either tend to be very, very simplistic, where I feel like I'm just kind of watching a game happen as I roll dice, and whatever, B-17, I think it's called, Queen of the Skies, the Avalon Hill game, where you make maybe one or two decisions early on and then you just roll dice all game. I hate that. But I find that I like those same games, and I mentioned this with Age of Exploration, in a multiplayer type environment, something like Swords of the Niles, Blackbeard, presumably Age of Exploration, where each player, a beautiful one is Tales of the Arabian Nights, where you're basically playing a solitaire system, but other people are kind of enjoying the story of it even more explicitly than they do in the games that are less storytelling, because you have people passing the booklet and reading to each other, or actually throwing themselves into the game in more ways, acting it out, etc. I find those really, really enjoyable in a multiplayer situation. Because there's almost a social and an interactive capability to it that just doesn't exist in a pure solitaire game. So it's okay to have that complex rule system there, because you can say, I don't give a damn about that. Or it doesn't really matter that it's all luck-based, that I'm not really trying to come up with goals in a struggle against someone. All right. Anyway, those are some thoughts on solo.